And now we're going to look at some disadvantages of the participant and non-participant observations. So for participant, the disadvantages we have here is this is far more likely to become subjective, because you're going to be, with the participants, you're going to have sort of opinions and thoughts about them, you're going to have some connection to them, and in which case it's much easier to become subjective because of this, and this can lead to bias, which may affect the validity as well. And because you're so close to the situation, you're actually in it, and you're with the participants, and you're very close to them, you don't really notice the whole picture. So you will get small details, yes, but you won't look at it from a distance and see the actual effects of different variables on the situation as a whole. For non-participant, because you're looking at it as a whole, you're going to miss small details because of that. And it doesn't convey the importance of body language as well, because you're looking at it from a distance, you're not there, you're not experiencing what it's like to become one of them, so you're not going to sort of notice the body language as much and notice the effects it has. And this one is far easier to interpret your own views as well. And then we go on to the experiments here. We've got laboratory experiments. This is just, again, an experiment on a lab. We've got advantages here. So all the extraneous variables can be controlled. Conditions of the test can be controlled. And this allows for a high internal validity as well. And because you're controlling everything, it can make the research very specific. And because of that, it has a high reliability, because it can be replicated very easily. However, it has a low ecological validity. It's an unnatural setting as well. This social desirability. So they're going to behave how the researcher may want them to, because of the unnatural setting. That leads to low ecological validity. Equipment and expenses as well, and the training that needs to come along with being able to use the equipment. Not all researchers are trained to use some equipment that you might want to use in your research, so you'd have to be trained to use those. And participants might be anxious of evaluation as well, so just before they might get a little, their behaviour might change a little bit, because they're going to become anxious because they know they're being evaluated and observed. And we've got a field experiment. This is when experiments are done in a natural setting. And then we've got advantages. It's a real life setting, so it's going to reflect the natural performance much better. That leads to a high ecological validity. And it's a lot cheaper as well, as less financial obligations, because it's done in a situation that's already available to you. And obviously, in which case it's going to be far more accessible. Just to go outside is very easy, whereas actually getting a lab is much more difficult. However, because it's outside and because it's in natural settings, you can't control all the extraneous variables, so you have to sort of apply that and put it into your research. And this is going to make it take longer. And the equipment that you're going to have is going to come along with it as well. And it might not all be functioning correctly, because usually if you go outside in a field experiment, say you're looking at athletes, the equipment is been there for a few years, so it might not all be functioning as optimally as it would have done. And then we move on to questionnaires. We've got advantages. It's high in reliability, it's replicable, can be sent out to lots of people at once. You're going to get high generalizability and a high representability, because you can send it very quickly, very easily to a wide range of places. It's quick and easy as well, so you only have to make one and then just make a copy of it, so it's very quick. And it can be specific with data you want to receive, so it's similar to a structured interview in the sense of you have the questions out, you have them set out and you have them specific to what you want. And it's anonymous as well. All questionnaires are usually anonymous. So this will raise the validity, because If someone's anonymous, they know that they're not going to be sort of judged by anything, so they're going to give more truthful answers. But because they're all closed questions, it won't give you the why to the answers, so someone might just answer a yes or a no, or just give you a short sentence, and you won't have the why. And if key terms aren't operationalized as well, it's much more difficult to do that in the questionnaires. You might get some sort of different data, so none of your responses are going to be standardized. Although it's higher in representativeness and generalizability, it can also be lowered as well, because not everyone will answer it. So people who are interested in the subject will respond. So say you have a questionnaire about music, people who are interested in music are going to answer it. Sports, people who are interested in sports are going to answer that. You're not going to get a wide range of opinions. And then we've got observations, which is notational analysis. So this is the quantitative version of it. Advantages, it's easy to compare to previous performances. So you just note it down, you keep a record of it, and you can look back on that and compare, and this will help you see improvement over time. And if you video it as well, so if it's a gymnast, you can video their performance, and then you can analyze that at a later time, so you're not analyzing it in the moment, so you can actually focus on the performance in the moment. And because you can look back at it and you can compare it to performances in the past or other people's performance who may be a professional. So if you have a younger gymnast and you're comparing them to elite gymnast, you can show strengths and weaknesses and where they need to improve. But because it's a lot of analysing, you're going to need training so you know how exactly to analyse it. And because if you're doing it with a group as well, with a team rather than individual, and if you're analysing lots of different things, you're going to need more than one observer. And comparing as well can demotivate performers if they're going to be compared and sort of disadvantaged in that way. And then we've got experiment designs here for the last bit. So we've got independent groups, dependent or repeated measures, and matched pairs. So independent groups, between groups, and different groups of individuals participate in different conditions. So you'll have either 2 or 3 sets of conditions, and you're going to have independent groups sort of compete in the different conditions, and then you're going to get all the research and you're going to compare it. The repeated measures here, so the participants are going to repeat performance under different conditions. So independent groups is different groups, different conditions. Repeated measures, same groups, different conditions. And then we have matched pairs here. So conditions are done by different participants. So you're going to be matched up with someone who has similar characteristics to you, and then you're going to go off and you're going to complete this in different conditions. So an example for all of them, independent groups. So you're going to have 2 groups. You might be playing basketball and doing some shots. One condition will be for one group that you are being watched. Second one, you're not being watched. You're going to analyse both, you're going to take notes, and then you're going to compare it. Repeated measures, so if we're using the same example, you're going to take the same group of people, you're going to put them in condition A, where they're being watched, and take notes, and then you're going to put them in condition B, where they're not being watched, and compare the data. Matched pairs, you're going to get 2 similar people with similar characteristics, so you might get 2 introverts together, 2 extroverts together, 2 people with basketball knowledge and skill who've been playing for a long time, so experience, and then people who aren't experienced. You're going to have same height, same sporting background, things like that, and you're going to put them in separate conditions. So person 1, person 2, they're a matched pair. Person 1 will go to condition A where they're being watched. Person 2 will go to condition B where they're not being watched. And then you analyse the data from that.